Hello everyone, good afternoon. Today's session will be mainly Miro's. Miro's will talk you through the instrument, we'll make sure that you have everything you need, that you can start using it in the way intended. Towards the end, we might have an outlook on the next, this is our 7th of 10 sessions. We come to an end on the 13th of May, so next Monday, of course, is Easter Monday, so there won't be any. Then there will be one more session where we will look a bit more on into how to create character, how to characterize, use characterization, how to create the character. And then from then on, it's really more or less over to you. The last 2 sessions, we will be giving over to you presenting your work in progress. We're assuming that you will have work in progress between now and the 13th. The 13th we expect to be mostly you presenting your work, and on the session before that, it depends a bit on how far you get. And on the 13th, also depends on how many of you actually want to finish the course and therefore get a grade and present. We may have to extend the session on the 13th to accommodate everybody. The idea, as we've been saying from the very beginning, is that you do not simply write a paper, but that you write effectively a short play. And that's what we've been building up to with everything, with structure, with character, with everything, using the instrument. So we're now fusing these 2 approaches together. And so what the format that this will take, the format your presentation will take, is one of essentially an unrehearsed or minimally rehearsed play reading. In other words, you will have written a short play or a playlet or a scene, and you will need to find somebody who will read this with you, or 2 people who will read it, or 3 people who read it for you. In other words, you need to find people who can come here to the front and read this as a dialogue. You're not expected to simply read it out by yourself. Those of you who were here last time will have a little bit of experience of this already, where we kind of started practicing this a bit. So, in other words, what we are building up to now is using everything that Mira has so far told you and is going to tell you in the next couple of hours, and everything I've been talking about, putting them together so that you can create, with the wealth of resources you have, with the wealth of books, texts, libraries that you can create, and with these voices that we've pre-selected for you and that you have been able to add to if you wanted to, or may still decide to do. And out of this wealth and plethora, create a coherent short play that has a dramatic structure, that has a conflict of some description, that is worked through or resolved, that has dialogue, or if you choose to go for a monologue, that has a proper monologue structure and achieves something as a monologue. So it's not a case of simply writing about writing, you have to actually create some writing. And you can use totally up to your own, how you see fit, how you see how you best want to approach it. You can, of course, the whole point of giving you the instrument is partly also to be able to draw on quotations, on things people have said, and use their words and work with their words. So you're not expected to simply cut and paste. You will be given the opportunity to use your own creative input and create what you will. We are setting sort of parameters for you within which you can then create a short play. We're thinking, we were talking about this earlier, I think the volume of this, we would expect that to be approximately 10 minutes. A piece that's about 10 minutes long if you read it out loud, thereabouts.
And then what would be also important is that in this piece that you are making, somehow that we have this orthographia, scenographia, ichnographia, so this concept that were introduced in the beginning, and that somehow there are traces of all the 3 elements. Yeah? So first is about the concepts. So how do you find concepts, which concepts are interesting for you? Then the second is talking with the books and trying to develop those concepts in different ways in relation with the books. And then the third one is to make it into a stage play. So this would be very beautiful if we could have traces of your thinking and traces of your using of the instruments that lead you to the drama. And then what we were discussing is that in principle at the end you should deliver a document with all these traces and your drama, and you should present either on the 13th,
Or on the 9th, not 9th, on the one before,
the one
whatever
before,
that one is,
yeah.
yes.
So the last 2 times are only for presentation. Whoever wants to pass the class needs to make a small presentation and needs to deliver this paper. The drama can come a little bit later, but before the end of the semester we need a presentation that we can discuss what's going on.
Yeah. And you can also use the sessions between this one is pretty much packed, but the next session and the following one, you can use this to get input, to ask questions, to get some, to read some of your work maybe, and you use them for almost like tutorial purposes, to make sure that you can get the most out of your seminar. Yeah. And yeah, that's more or less it, isn't it? Oh, and those of you who were here last time, and I sort of set a task about researching some of these people that we've been setting up in the pool. If you don't get to this week, then don't worry, your time won't be wasted. We will get to it next time, which is not next week, it was in 2 weeks' time, because next week is Easter Monday.
So and today the idea would be that we kind of work together. So, do you guys have computers? Not really. Okay, then you have to imagine that you have, and somehow try
take
to
notes, yeah, or
try to
pictures, or both.
take notes. And with the others, so could you, for instance, raise hands who has Mathematica installed and the database installed and running? So okay, Carlita. And who doesn't have and has a computer here? So you see there are like 3 persons in the back that don't have it installed but have the computers, and it would be great if then you can kind of, Carla will help you to set it up. Because somehow it's important that we start today, but the rest of you that have, so we'll start working. So of course the first step is run Mathematica.
No.
And when we are running Mathematica, we should run it from the folder that I hope everyone has downloaded. This is the news, one is the library, and the other thing is the folder which is called Digital Architectonics. Yeah, so from Digital Architectonics you run the start button. So when we run the start button, it will ask us, do you want to automatically evaluate all the initialization cells in the notebook start? Yeah, so we say yes, we want to do that. And after we do it, so what he's asking us now is, where is your MTP library? And the MTP library is the other folder that we were downloading from the news. This is the library with all the books. So in principle these are the books. So if you don't have, if you downloaded this and you somehow still don't have it, you should create a folder which is called MTP library, and inside of this folder you should put the books that you downloaded from the server. How are we with this? So you know all, for the server you know where it is, and you somehow know how to get to the books. Once you download the books, you unzip the folder of the books, and the news library that you get, you should put into a folder which is called MTP library. So this is all the books that we are using should always be in the MTP library. So if I'm going too fast or someone is kind of stuck somewhere, please react and then we'll try to figure it out. Okay, so Mathematica is asking us, where is your MTP library? So mine is here. And then I choose it. And now it's asking me for the password, which we were kind of doing when we were installing the database from the tutorial, then you have to do the password. Yeah, you put the password, and now it's kind of connected. So up until this is the level up until you should have somehow managed. Because this means that you have installed as well the dbeaver, which is a way how to communicate with your database. And in the dbeaver you should have some books or not, but we will see now how to put books inside. These are the books that I have currently in the inside of this. So how many people have this? So you don't need to have books, but somehow that you have installed the database and that the Mathematica is running. This there is like 4 or 5 people. And then also would be good that you kind of help each other in parallel with Carla. Okay, let's go a little bit further. So I have prepared a file for everyone to use. This is, and you can download it now. So this is on the Xenoteca, in the Xenoteca Delbeke website. So this is the Xenoteca, then you just say I agree. And then you go to download libraries, Xenoteca, and the last one is NUS Play Among Books. And you have download files. There are 2 files which you should download. One is the NUS style sheet, and the other one is the NUS tutorial. Hello. So inside of Xenoteca Delbeke, there is download libraries. Click Xenoteca, and then inside you have download files. There are 2 files. I show you. So it's you go to, so you are in Xenoteca, and then you have download libraries. So you go to Xenoteca, and then the last one is download files. This here. Okay, for the ones that came a little bit later, so what we are doing is we are starting Mathematica with the start notebook. Then we evaluate and enter the password for connection to the database. We can do it again just to see. So we start with this start. This is how we create the setup for working with the instrument. We say yes here when he asks. And then we need to provide a folder in which we will keep our library. And this folder should be named MTP library. So this is the thing that you downloaded, the zip file with the library that you downloaded for from the server. So I put it in Xenoteca MTP, and then there is MTP library. So I say I choose it. Yeah? And then you need to give your password. Okay, so this is the basic step. This should have somehow been working for today. Once we have this, then we need to download files that I prepared for today for our work. And these files are in, again, you go to this website. Yeah, to this website, and then you have the download libraries, Xenoteca, and the lowest one is News Play Among Books. You have download files, and inside you have two files. So once you download these two files, then you should first click on the style sheet file, double click it, and then you will get this. So now we are just installing the style sheet, so when you open the file that it looks, let's say, attractive, or that it looks how I imagine it, then you can change it and make it more attractive, or however you like. And then you should call it the same name as it's up here, news _ style sheet. Yeah, and then you just say install style sheet, and then again here you should put again the same name. Here we are all kind of in sync. And then we can maybe later put this video on internet so that everyone can check it, because here we have, this will be good to have this one online. Okay, so after we have this installed, this means we can really start and open the tutorial file. Yeah? So this is what we are going to do today. So in principle there is a lot, but we have our main things. Yeah, we have the Scenographia, we have the Orthographia, and what we don't have is the Scenographia, because this is the most tricky part. We can show some examples at the end, but somehow in it, all these things that we are talking about should be integrated. But these traces of Scenographia and Orthographia, they should also be somehow present in what you are doing. So let's open the first arrow, and then it explodes. So this is, I just want to say a few basic things about Mathematica, so that we can somehow go all together. So you know that to run a command, so Mathematica consists out of cells. So each of these elements here is one cell. And in order to run a cell, you need to be inside of a specific cell, like for instance here, and then you just press Shift and Enter, and then it runs. So you get 2 + 2 is 4. What is super nice with Mathematica regarding to other environments for programming is, for instance, this. Yeah, you have a, you can use images in a way like you just take it and drag and drop inside. Yeah, you can take an image and say, okay, D will be this image. Yeah, and then it goes. Okay, I missed it a little bit, so not this one, but I want to put it here that it's in D, like this. So now what we are saying, for instance, we say there is a concept of a variable. So this is something that can change. So you need a symbol, which is in this case A, and we say symbol A will be equal to 1. So we assign A 1. Then to symbol B, we assign the same value that a symbol A has. So this means that B should be 1 as well. Then to symbol C, we assign a letter A. So if you have a letter or a string, it's always between two quotation marks. That's why I think it's a kind of a game. A is 1, then B is A, which means is 1, and then C is A, but it's a different A. Yeah, and then D is a picture. And then you can say that E is all of them together. So this is a kind of very easy with Mathematica, which in other programming languages would be super painful to achieve these things. So you would have to program stuff, and here you can just put it. And then if we run this, what happens is that we really get A is 1, then B is A, and A is 1, which means B is 1. C is A, but not a variable A, but it's a string as a letter A. That's it. And then D is the image. It's this image, yeah, it's fake Paris. Fake Paris in China. It's a very nice video from Jamie XX. If you haven't seen it, it's super cool. Yeah, and then E is all of them together. So E is 1, 1, A, and the picture. And now I really like this with the pictures that you can import them in this way. So let's look at the picture. So now what we are taking the element E, the symbol E, and we are looking for the fourth element. This means this, and we are then asking, okay, of what kind is this fourth element? This is the first line. The second line is, show me the fourth element. And then the fifth, sixth, and seventh line, yeah, so this line will just show you what is it composed of, this image. So you will see the values of the pixels, and then we will see how many pixels we have in one row and in the other one. Yeah? So if we run it, we say, okay, it's an image. This is this image. This image consists in terms of data, out of these values. So this means that the first pixel, which is this one here in the corner, has these kind of values. Yeah? The second one has all of these values, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And we said, okay, show me from 1 to 5, the values of pixels from 1 to 5. And then we said, okay, how many pixels are in one row and how many pixels are in one column? So this is in principle the resolution of the image. So it's 1893 times 3360. And if we go to the image and we check image, it's these numbers, yeah? These numbers here. You can see all these things. So tutorials to get up to this point are this, yeah? So one is setting up of Mathematica, one is installing the database, and one is importing a book from Xenoteca to database. So this in principle you should be able to do, and we will start today from here, because somehow this should have been done already. And if you don't know, then Carla can help you a little bit, or you should help each other, or you can come after hours and then I can help you again. But this was not too popular, this after hours. And then these guys here, these tutorials here are for kind of what Ludger was thinking about the drama, so you can also have this as a kind of a supplement to what's going on here. And here is a link, so you can go directly to this. Yeah?
Hello again. This is on Mathematica for Architects, and this is a short tutorial about.
Hello. If you want to get help you can come to the command and click on the info, and then you get what's going on. So it's at head, it gives the head of an expression, which means it will tell you of what kind of head the expression has, of what is this expression about. Yeah, so then you have, for instance, head here is plus, here it's a list, here is an integer, here it's a symbol, and in our case we had it as an image. Or you can just go with the right click and then get help. So this is kind of important. Or the other thing is, here you can go to Wolfram documentation, and then you get something like this, where you get more help. So for instance, we are working with string and text, so you can go here. Text manipulation. But in principle, all these things you don't need that much, because it will be very simple in terms of programming what we are doing. This is just to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. So now we can close the first part and start importing our books to the database. So again, now you click on this little arrow. So in order to do it, we need to have these things done. Yeah? We need to start with the start, and we need to choose as a folder your MTP library folder. So then you should know where is your MTP library folder, and inside of this MTP library folder you should have a library of news which you somehow downloaded, which is prepared for you. So the thing here is that you have the library here, but in order to work with it, we need to put those books to the database as well. So in principle, you will have two copies of books. One is in your library on your folder, and the same thing has to be in the database. To see if things are in the database, if they are there or not, we use this dbeaver software, this guy here. But we will come to that. So, where is my Mathematica? So when we are importing these books, this command here will somehow show what's going on. So if we just run it, and then it will show us the status of what's going on when we run this command. So this quiet at mtpdb books save will put a book which is already prepared for the database into the database. So, and these books that are prepared, these are the books from the news library. So if we are in our news library, these are the books, but I imported all of this. This I didn't import yet. So for instance, Goethe, I didn't import, Gropius I didn't import, and Hermes I didn't import. So if I want to import Goethe, I know that it's prepared because Ludger prepared it in advance for us. I need to take the name of the folder, so I just copy it, Control C, Command C, and and then instead of Vitruvius, I just put this name here. And what's going to happen with, why is this here? Yeah, so if you have installed your database, here we can check if the book is inside or not. So for instance, now if I click here, I have all the books that are inside, but Goethe is not here. Yeah. So in order to put Goethe inside, we need to run this command again with Shift and Enter. And now it's saying here, I'm parsing the book Goethe for export to the database, and it has 0.5 megabytes. It's finished, and then if everything goes well, you will get these kind of numbers. So these numbers are happy numbers. This means it's inside, yeah? Then you can delete it. And now if we go here to our dbeaver and we check, now Goethe should be here. Yeah, it's here. Is this kind of working? In dbeaver, in the next cell you have it in dbeaver. Check if books are loaded into the database by Postgres schemas public table MTP cells. So this means that when we are here, we go to Postgres, then you open it, then you go to schemas, schemes, you go to public, and then Postgres schemas public tables, and then MTP cells. And once you double click MTP cells, you will get this. So this is a list of all the cells, because with this instrument, all the books are translated into small paragraphs, and each paragraph is one data element in the database. And if you want to see which books you have, then next to the book name is this small thing that you can click, and you get a list of all the books which are in your library. So with these books you can work. Since we have a lot of books, we can also add all the books from the prepared library at once, so that you don't have to click for each one. So then what we do is we take the names of the books, and with these double brackets you can extract what you want. So now we have in the book path, we have these different names. So if we say book path of 1, it will take the first one from here, and it shows Alberti AOB. If we say book path and then we make curly brackets from 1 to 3, it will take the first, the second, and the third one. Or not, it will take the first and the second one. Why he didn't take this one? It takes just the first and the third. It checks the first and the third. Yeah, the third one is he takes from the first to the third. Yeah, so like this you can put 1 and then 5, and then you will get first and the fifth. Exactly. If it's 1 to 3, you get all of this, or if it's from 3 on, then you get all of this. So in my library currently, I have imported all of those books. I have imported Goethe as well, so I can put, for instance, Goethe inside. Inside of the MTP library, you can transfer to different folders, no problem. Just don't go into the identity of the book. Don't touch the book, but books you can put to different folders, so that's not a problem. So I want to import these 2 books, Gropius and Hermes, and I want to import them at once, so I will just, so then I will rename this folder so that it's shorter. Tunus2. So this means here I should write nus2. This is always what you have to change. Where are the books that you want to import? So if we go to nus2, then we get these 2 books, and I want to import them. So here I can run this again that I see the status, and let's import. And now here, from all of this, we don't need any extensions because we want to import all. Or you can put, so we can do it like this, that there is nothing written here. then it will import both, or we can put, for instance, this. Then it's 1 and 2, or however. Yeah? And now if we run this, there is no notebook. If we put it like this again. But why is there no notebook? Hmm?
This nose too is not an MTP library outside.
Exactly. So let's change the name back. What was the name? News for import.
But I think it's not an MTP library, it's outside of MTP.
No, it's inside. It's inside, just I changed it. So once you start the Mathematica, you should not change the names of folders. Yeah, so it should be news to import. So we have to rename it to news to import. And I think now it should work. Yeah. And then you might get this kind of attention on something, but then if it says attention, 2 cells are not exported, this is also fine. So now, these 2 books should also be in our library. So Gropius and Hermes, and we can check again here. And Gropius is here, and Hermes is here as well. Yeah? So this means all of our books are in the library. This is somehow okay?
Yeah, so I don't have the same folder structure. So how do I just change the code, this line?
So inside of this line,
Yeah, exactly.
you can put your folder path. Yeah. So this means you put the folder of the library in which are the books that you want to import.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you run it, you get which books are inside. Yeah. So but now we imported this, so I want from the news. So if I put here just news, then I get all the books from the news. Yeah. And now I can put also these books in here, and news to import, I can forget this. We'll put all of this online as well, so okay. And then the last thing that we wanted to introduce is that you can import a book from Xenoteca which you like. Yeah? So something that you find interesting, so that it's not hermetically closed. So for instance, the book that I imported before was Kohlhaas Delirious New York, but now we want to import another one. Yeah? So and this is the last part of with importing. So you can only import with this scheme, you can only import books that are already in Xenoteca. So you cannot just take any random book. I mean, we could do this as well, but let's now not make it too complicated. Let's stick only to Xenoteca. So you want to do it. You have also Ludger's YouTube folder how to do it. Yeah?
Hello again. Now we want to get a
and check it, but let's do it live. So let's go to Xenoteca and find something that we would like to import. What? Let's take for instance Rossi. Huh? A scientific autobiography. For instance, you can take any book that you like, you think can kind of be inside. So this is the book. It's here, it has each HTML. Nice. Okay, to import this book, what we need to do? We need to add a new folder to MTP library. Yeah, so this is my MTP library, and inside of it, this is my news library where are all the books in the news. So here I will add a new folder. Yeah? Where is it? Where did I put it now? Untitled folder, and I will call it Rossi Scientific Autobiography. Huh? So it's here. Then what we need to do, we need to save the PDF and HTML to this folder. Yeah? Okay. So he's still loading this thing. Almost there. So we download the PDF. Downloads, yes. And we want as well the HTML zip, this thing as well. Opa, this has 300 megabytes. The nice one for testing is Alberti on painting. That's super fast. You can use this one as well. It has 1 megabyte. Should we do it? Okay, let's do Alberti on painting. It's easier. So that we are all in sync. Alberti on painting, good. So we take the PDF and the zip file. Yeah. Painting, so you say download, save, great. It's there, so then our folder should not be called Rossi, but Alberti. OP, which means on painting. Okay, so he's here. We need to put the downloaded folders there. So this is the here. And what's happening to the okay, it's working there, both here. So the PDF also needs to go there, yeah? Okay, now we need to uncompress. Okay, this is what we need. And these should be called only HTML. And we need to have it here. So this htdocs, Xenotech, Albertian painting, we don't need any of this, so we just delete it. We need a folder which is called HTML, and then you need to check in the get info that it doesn't have any extension. So it should be without extension, just HTML. So now we have we need this we also don't need. You need the PDF, you need this HTML, and now we need another thing. We need to download one small software which is called Any Free PDF to JPEG Compress Computer, which will just transfer the PDFs very simply to JPEG. Yeah? So it's a simple software to download, and then when you have it, you just need add a file, and our file is the one that we want to add is Albertion painting. This is the PDF, okay. And then you need to just designate where you want to have it. So I want to have it in Albertion painting, open, and you say start. So it's completed successfully. I want to quit. And this is it. Again, this folder should be called JPEG without any extension. To see this, again, you need to go to get info. So it's already like this, yeah? Just JPEG. And I think that's it, what we need. Exactly. And now we need to create a book, and then we need to save it. So these are the two commands. So let's run the first one. So he's asking us where is the folder. This one. Then he's asking us, okay, which language is this? This is English language, and the source of this book is Xenoteca. Okay, and now he's doing his thing, and this is the book. This is the notebook in the Mathematica file.
Can we change the language afterwards, and what are the consequences we have? What is another language or something like that?
Of course, you can. So if it's English, then if its book is in German, then it's not correct. So you need to just delete this thing, the notebook. You delete it and do the thing again. Yeah. So we just, for instance, we move it to trash. We delete it, and now we do it again. Where is it here? Book create. English books, and so you can change it now to whatever. Okay, and it's doing the same thing again. Yeah? So no problem. And now once we have it, so we have the whole structure, we have everything we need. Now we need to import this book into the database because it's still not inside of this dbeaver thing here. So to import it inside, we need to run the same command, yeah? Book save, but not Kolchas. But what we want to save is Alberti on painting. Yeah. Toop. This means that Alberti on painting should be in our database, and if we check here, Alberti on painting is inside. Okay. So by this, we are able to import any book from Xenoteca that we like, and somehow we can influence on the books from our, so that it's all not only fixed to what Sebastian was choosing, but somehow that it's a little bit more open. So these are, in principle, it's very simple. You have the tutorial, super slow tutorial with Ludger in 7
Hello
minutes
again.
how to do it.
Now we want to get
So if
a
someone
book
can
from
catch
Synotica
what's going on.
to our mathematical.
Okay. So these are these two. So how do we put our characters into the library, and how do we set up Mathematica? So now we start with the interesting stuff. So the first thing, as we discussed from before, what we need to do, we need to find interesting concepts. What we like, what we want to discuss about. And of course, I think it's very important to keep in mind that now this what I'm showing with the Scenographia, Orthographia, and Ichnographia, it's in a loop. So you find a concept, then you go to a library, you look around, find another concept, go back. So it's a kind of a constant move around. So it's not a linear process, but a kind of a circular, how Ludger calls it, a circular writing. Yeah? So in order to find concepts that we like, I think there are two manners. Yeah? One is the horizontal movement, and the other one is the vertical. I call it like this. In terms of horizontal movement, so it's a kind of, let's say, a topology of meaning. So how concepts relate to each other in terms of meaning. These are the synonyms and antonyms. This is very easy to find on Thesaurus. Yeah? So if you have a concept of, for instance, beauty, you check what is it around. Yeah? Charm, delicacy, elegance, good looking. It's about grace, it's about style. So these are kind of things that you could. Okay, style might be interesting if you're an architect. Grace could be interesting because it is a kind of a funny concept. Charm. So what could be the difference between charm and grace? Elegance. And then of course you need the antonyms. Crudeness, inelegance, roughness, and so on. A similar thing on, I would say, on a horizontal plane of concepts is to, of course, to change its languages. Yeah? So if you have beauty, to see how these concepts change when you change the language. Yeah? So what is it in French or in any other language? Yeah? But this you know. So this is on a kind of a horizontal level, how to spread, how to find words which are interesting. Then on the vertical level of how to think in the same way, just on the vertical level, is how concepts travel through time. Yeah? So this is how they travel to space, to different kind of cultures, or through different kind of meanings through the space. And when they travel through time, they travel in two ways. Yeah? One is we can look at the etymology of words. So for instance, beauty. This is super nice with etymologies always. Yeah? So what is it related to? It's a kind of a physical attractiveness, it's courtesy, it's a beautiful woman, it's sleep before midnight. So you have kind of different things. So it's here, then it comes to kind of nature, beauty as something which is natural, like a body or a tree or a landscape, and so on. So this is when you look how a certain concept travels through time, what's happening with it, and the other thing, how it travels through time, you can check what is the popularity of this concept that's traveling through time. These are the n-grams. So here you see it's kind of almost an evolution or genealogy of a concept, and here we have the popularity of a concept through time. So these are the given ones: Einstein, Sherlock Holmes, and Frankenstein. But you can put, I don't know, Zaha Hadid, or how did, yeah.
Capitalized. It might be. I think it's case sensitive.
Huh?
I think it's case sensitive. Yeah.
So then you get these guys, how they travel. But if it's a concept, then it can be, for instance, beauty and nature. Huh? So not too interesting like this. Huh? They're more or less in sync. But you can search for different concepts like this. Yeah? So this would be the. I think it's always very nice if you want to open up concepts to look at these two movements. Yeah, one how they spread in time, one is how they spread in space and what's their popularities and so on. And now, in our Stenographia, we should find our own concepts, yeah, that we are interested in. So, for instance, I somehow like it with beauty, and these are the commands from our instrument that we can use to get this, let's say, vertical movement very fast, and the horizontal one. Yeah. So to be operational with it, and that you can use it also when you do your document, so that you leave some traces of how you were thinking. So, for instance, I want to see beauty in French and English. Yeah. We just run the commands and wait a moment. This I already showed you, but I think it's a nice example, because these concepts here are somehow, with the French and English, are somehow inverse. Yeah? Which one is which one? I think English is the blue one. If we remove. Yeah, English is the blue one, so it's here, it's low, and then around 1800s it changes, and then if we add the French one, it's inverse. Yeah. Yeah, so in France it's here, it's more popular, and then it gets less popular. Huh? So there is something going on here, but this might mean that then in French there should be another term which is more popular here. So let's check then in French what is with the translation. Then you get, for instance, when you translate, then you get a kind of a broader spectrum of concepts in French. So then so this is when you look concepts in different languages, and this is when you look different concepts in the same language. Yeah, so these are two different operations. It's easy, very simple and easy to play. So we have beauty, attraction, charm, magnificence, and grace. And let's look what's going on with them. So it's, again, here we have a kind of a point where beauty and grace kind of switch. And then here we have, what are these? Charm and attraction, they switch here, and here it's magnificence and attraction as well. Yeah? And then, of course, you have to ask yourself, okay, why are these things happening around here? So what could be the trigger? And then, of course, you know that it's the French Revolution, so something is happening and the concepts are changing around kind of an event. And this might be French Revolution, for instance, why these concepts are changing. You can also look at the same table in a different way. You can say that you want to normalize all these values. Yeah, so these are two different modes. One is absolute, where you see all the frequencies, and the normalized one is when they kind of refer to each other, when they are put in a kind of a common scale of these five, and then you try to find one in which it's kind of easier for you to read and make a story. And then, for instance, now with these concepts, somehow you should start looking to different books. And then when you go to different books, Then by triggering these concepts, you should find some other concepts that should be as well interesting, and then go back here and see, for instance, how some other concepts, I don't know, then you can say, okay, let's look what happens with beauty. We can put it now in English, and we can have beauty and, for instance, nature. So how are these two concepts working? Yeah? So they're in principle in sync, it looks like. Yeah, these are kind of absolute values, and these are normal values when you bring them to relations. So something around here is happening, but in principle they are traveling in a very in sync. Here they are a little bit out of sync. So for instance, here it's interesting, yeah, beauty and goodness. So they are somehow in sync until 1850s, yeah, then they are out of sync. So, and then you should try to find these kind of stories where something is happening, and they should help you to work with the way how you write. So this you have also in the tutorials, in these tutorials here. This is basically very basic and simple to use. You have only 2 or 3 commands, and then you just change what you are after. I think, yeah. And always try to think on both levels, yeah, that you find concepts on a horizontal level and on the vertical level that are transforming somehow. And now let's enter the library. So when this is kind of an orthographia, yeah? So we call it making friends. So how can you talk to a book, or how can you talk to a library and get something out of it? So we have 3 things, a talk or 4. A talk with the book, a chat with the library, but this is me talking to a book and me talking to a library. Then we can have 2 identities talking. So I can have 2 books talking, or a book and a library talking. Or we can have something like a face of a book in a library. We can have different books talking inside of a library like an environment. So Ludger calls it a garden party. How books talk in a garden party. Or you can see how a book changes according to a different library. How the face of a book changes according to a different library. So let's start to a kind of a talk with the book. So in order to talk with the book, we need to now, from our books, we need to create kind of identities. Yeah? So we can create an identity of a book, and we can load an identity of a book once we have created it. So first let's try to create it. So it's very simple, and this creation has to be done every time you work. So with the database, you just do it once and it's there. With these things, you need to set up an identity every time you start working with Mathematica. Once you restart Mathematica, you need to set up the identity. So if we want to, for instance, make the identity of Alberti. So we have, where is it? This is our library. We can set up an identity of Alberti, this one, yeah? These are 10 books of architecture. So if we want to make his identity, we create a name, and this name should be, you can create however you like it, but you should somehow be aware that it's Alberti, so you can have it in, it doesn't have to be like this. So I want to have Alberti, his identity, and then you have to give it a kind of a size. How many cells it's gonna have. So I say, okay, it should have 6. And then he's asking you, you need to just point to the folder. So this folder is Alberti AOB, choose. And now he's making an identity of him. By saying an identity, this means that the instrument is transforming the book of Alberti into a format with which we can communicate in a fast manner. And what did it do? It created a file inside of it, which is called AOB6SOM. So this is a kind of machine learning part where it creates an identity of this guy. So if we go to the folder, here we have an identity of Alberti created with 6 elements, with 5 elements, and with 9. So these were done before. And once we created these kind of things, then next time we don't have to create them again, we can just load it. So for instance, if we want to load it, instead of text create and text show, you just have text open and then text show. So in order, when you open a certain book, you need to give it a name and save it under a certain code name. So this is the code name under which we are saving this book when we open it. And then later we say, show this what I have saved here. So if we now run the command, so open, we can open, for instance, the one with 5. So it's going to have 5 cells instead of 6. And now it shows him. And what we get here is a kind of an identity of Alberti in a form of different paragraphs which somehow come together. So the paragraphs that are close to each other, they come to a certain cell. So this cell here contains 142 paragraphs. And this cell here contains 120 paragraphs. And the most common words in these cells are Vitruve, Plinius, Alberti, Herod, and Mention. So if we want to get it a little bit bigger, then we just need to create a bigger sum. So for instance, we can here create one with 10 cells. So we say, okay, make now one with 10 cells. And this is our folder, choose. Now he's vectorizing it, and it takes some time. And it's here, it's Alberti AOB with 10 cells. So it's this one here, that's the new one. So this is how you create, this is how you load an identity. You can also load it in a fast way so that you don't need to put like this and that. You can just have it at once, that you don't have to kind of click. So we want an uncompressed import of this thing, but we don't want the one with 6, we want the one with 10 elements. So this is the, if we run it, it's going to just show him. It's the same thing with 10 elements. And now you can start looking at these cells. What is it on top? And if you spend like 2 or 3 minutes on just looking and reading the words, you will get a feeling of what this book is about in a kind of a general sense. So there is a lot of Vitruvius here, there is a lot of Alberti, lineaments, building, river, water, city, height, column, wall, line, square, angle, area, width, height. So it's around columns, it's around how we draw columns, how we build columns. It's referring to Vitruvius, it's about Alberti because he did it. It's about beauty, ornament. It's about walls, cities, nature, buildings. Yeah, so you immediately know it's somewhere around architecture. There is a little bit of theater again here, and so on. So it's okay to spend some time at looking at these things. But now let's say, okay, since I'm interested in beauty, here we have it, beauty, ornament, follow, live, house. So I would say that somehow if I'm looking at Alberti and I'm interested in beauty, I should look at this cell here. So if I want to see now the paragraphs which are in this cell, I need to click on the cell. Yeah, you just click, you can click like 5-6 times, doesn't matter, you just click on the cell, and then you can zoom into it. Yeah? So I want to zoom, where is it? I want to zoom into the cell, but now I've lost it. Where is it? Ah, it's here, yeah? This one. I want to zoom into it, so I just kind of click, and then I write a new name. So it's ID Alberti, zoom, and I want to zoom into it. So I want to zoom into this. It's a little bit, you just have to, so you always zoom, we want to zoom into something. So what do we want to zoom in? We want to zoom into this. How is this called? This is called like this. It's ID Alberti. I want to zoom into ID Alberti. And then I want to see this with 3 by 3 cells. And I need to give it a name. So I give it the name, the same, I just add zoom. And then I say, show me this, what I've seen. It sounds tricky, but it's very simple in principle. And then you click, and then you get this one exploded into 6, into 9. And now there are 4 paragraphs here, 1 paragraph here, 2 paragraphs here, and so on. So I want to see this one with 1, yeah? Show me. And I just run this thing, and I get a comment from Alberti. So beauty and ornament. So this is a kind of a comment. You can see directly, this is a kind of a comment. We can click here and go directly to the book. It's a kind of a glossary. But what is interesting is what he writes here. Yeah? Beauty is that responded harmony of all the parts within a body, so that nothing may be added, taken away, or altered, but for the worse. So for instance, then if you like something out of this while you are doing these kind of searches, you can say, okay, I somehow like this. So I can maybe go here with the protagonists and add this here. Yeah? And this is Alberti, AOB, and then you can somehow start collecting, yeah? Or you make here another plain text, and you write Alberti, oops, AOB, and then you can put it in a kind of a higher hierarchy. Style, you say, okay, this is a subchapter, and now this is always with Alberti, so it's inside. And these are kind of interesting things that I picked up along the way that somehow make sense for me about what Alberti is saying. And you can as well copy this as a link. Yeah, so now whenever you click here, you get the original text. Yeah, and when you are here, you can go to the page source and get directly from the book, so that you know what's going on. And I think this is very useful when you are writing your texts to get these things. Yeah? And somehow and then for instance, yeah, now you are here. Beauty is that reasoned harmony. Okay, harmony is another interesting concept which we didn't have before. Yeah? So then you can put here with the concepts, you can make another one with the concepts as well, and then you can with the protagonists, we can put them on a higher level. So it's chapter, it's protagonists, And inside of protagonist we have Alberti. Yeah, but then we need to put concepts also on the level of chapter, so that it's bigger. And then here we put harmony, and then we have another one which was beauty, and we should put them on a subsection or subchapter, let's say. Good. And then these talks, they also need to go to the style of chapter. Okay, now it's great. So, and then we can go back and say, okay, but the concepts, when I was working with them, so what was kind of interesting for me was this table here. This is the French line of working with beauty. So I can come here and just paste it into the beauty. Yeah, and then now it's here with the beauty. So somehow, as this is developing, you should somehow keep track and always collect these interesting parts. So, and the funny thing is that you can always go directly to what was going on. Okay. So this is how we were zooming into a cell, because we found in Alberti a concept which I was interested in, which was beauty. But we can also talk to this identity in a different way. So we can ask a question in two different ways. We can ask an indexical question, and we can ask an atmospheric question to our identity, or to our protagonist. So if we are talking with Alberti, we can ask him for sentences which have beauty and ornament inside. So these are kind of more precise kind of questions. So, and then we tell him, okay, give me 10 of them. Give me 10 different paragraphs which are around beauty and ornament, and display it as a list. You can always say display it as a map. Like for instance, this is one, display as a map, and then you have display form as a list. So if we ask Alberti on 10 books of architecture about beauty and ornament, we run it, and now he's giving us 10 different paragraphs on beauty and ornament. Some of them are stupid, like this one, or like silly, like this one, which are kind of references, but some of them are text. Sometimes it's a comment on Alberti, sometimes it's Alberti talking. So this you have to see, how do you want to deal with books? Do you take a book as an entity with everything which is inside, and then this book is a kind of a character, or you want to be careful that it's only the sentences which really Alberti is writing, so you don't take the ones which are the preface and the postface. So this is up to you how you want to deal with these things. So what's interesting as well with Alberti, what we can do, now it's taking a little bit longer, but I want to show you this. Now what's cool with Alberti, so we can have Alberti 10 books of architecture as an identity, or we can have Alberti on painting as an identity, or we can create a new folder and say this is going to be Alberti. So we put it into our news library, and then we take these two folders of Alberti and we put them inside, and now we have another identity which is consists out of these two books. So if we want to have this guy, then we need to create a new identity. So we run, now we need to create, this means we need to run this. So now it's not identity of a book, it's not identity of a library, but it's identity of something in between. So we run it, and we say, okay, it's in desktop, here, news, and then it's Alberti. And I think it should. It should work, huh? Yeah, of course. I hope it updated the changes in the folders. Now we'll see if it worked or not. Okay, but I don't like how we call it. So we should not call it AOB. We should call it in the just ID Alberti. And then it's ID text open. So we'll try to open this what we loaded now. And it's this one, yeah? So it's 10 cells and it should be contained with both. Yeah, so this is the new one. And now, for instance, if we are interested in this, of course, you can see immediately that it's working because you have painter and paint directly. So this means its Alberti on painting is now inside. So if we take this one with 20 and we want to look at that cell, yeah, it's this one. But let's see all the 20. Yeah. You see, we get the references from Alberti on painting, and we get references on Alberti's 10 books. So this is a kind of a way how you can make mutants. That's also cool. So in your book, if you want to have, for instance, a mutant between a Kohlhaas and Alberti, you can put it together and see how they work if they're one character. So this is open as well to play with these kind of things. And then again, if you like something from this, then you can put it to your protagonist. So you can have a new protagonist here. Then you make it. You say okay. Plain text. So it's a kind of a mutant of Alberti and Kohlhaas. You just give it a hierarchy again so that you know. So what did we say? It's sub-chapter, yeah? Yeah. And then you can put stuff from here, but it's not of Alberti and Kohlhaas, it's two Albertis, yeah? Okay. And now we were asking the text, now we go back. So now forget about the mutant. We are back again with Alberti AOB. And we are asking it about beauty and ornament, and we want 10 answers. Yeah, this is what we ask him. Yeah. So you have to be careful with these namings that you don't mix them up. But you will see. So this is good because it's still AOB is always answering, so this means that the painting is not there. But you can ask as well a question in terms of a kind of an atmosphere, in terms of a statement, or in terms of a certain paragraph. Yeah? So if you have a paragraph that you like, or that you wrote, or that you think should be interesting for your work, you put it and you say, okay, this is the question. You have to run it. And then again you call it now question to ID Alberti AOB. So we ask the question, you have to say to who. We are asking the question to Alberti AOB. This is our identity. This is the question. It needs to be in curly brackets. I want it displayed as a map of 3 by 3 cells and show me what I said. So we just run it and then we get. So if we ask Alberti AOB this question, what it answers is this. And this is a kind of a question that in the 18th century they were complaining about in the 17th century with this Baroque architecture and the mannerism, how everyone is doing whatever they want. So you see. But today, these highly erudite men, instead of receiving thanks, are ungratefully revealed together with the ancients as if the former had copied from the latter without laudable genius and without intervention. Consequentially, each individual makes up his head as a new idea and a phantom of architecture in his own matter and displays it on facades and the public square. So this guy is very angry how everyone is doing whatever they want. You should do it all somehow how it should be. Yeah? And how it should be, this is said by Alberti and Vitruvius. So as a response, Alberti gives him back these kind of answers. Yeah? So now we can look what might be interesting for us. City. Nah, I don't know. Nothing looks too interesting for me, but let's take this one just as an example. And then we get 5 answers. So you always have to click on this, and you know it's working. You check here, it says 5, and this means it should give 5 answers. Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah? And this is what Alberti is answering this guy. So he's saying, but I would have the ornament that you apply B, for the most part, the work of me. Yeah, so now you should kind of read all these things and see if there is something that you like. Yeah? And then you can copy it and say, okay, I would say that for me at this moment here, nothing is too interesting. Yeah? So this is how you talk to a book, or you talk to a book-like identity. Let's say something like this. Yeah? We can do the same thing with the library. So we already kind of gave a hint of what it'd be when we made the mutant of Alberti, but now we can really do it with the whole library. Yeah? So we can say, we can create an identity of a library. So for instance, because when I was discussing with Sebastian, he said that somehow when you're making your drama, you should have only a few characters, yeah? 2 or 3, something like this, or 4. So then if you want to have a discussion of only these 3 or 4 characters, you can make a small library which contains only these 3 or 4. And then you can see how they relate to each other. Or as a way to get familiar with your library, you can do these kind of things. Okay, this will be the last one, but we can start with this. So we can create an identity of the library, and this will be our Nous library. That's why I call it ID Nous. And we say, okay, it will have 12 cells. So now what we need to do, we need to make the Nous as our primary folder. And then it will take everything that's inside. So now it's collecting. Or with time, we have half an hour more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So now these things, when there is more books, then these processes are longer. Because now he needs to vectorize all the books, So what's beautiful about this is that you can save, these files are automatically saved. So once they are done, they are there. So this is our Nous library, and for instance, this is one of those files with 16 cells. That's making the identity of all the books. But each time you add a book, you need to redo it. Otherwise, the new book is not inside. So now this guy is still calculating, and when the calculation ends, then there will be a new file here, which will be exactly the same. It's just going to have 12 instead of 16, which means this is a new identity with 12 cells. Okay, so now it's almost done. Okay, so it says, I did it, and it's in this file, yeah? So we can go back here and check. Yeah, as we said, here is the file. So next time you can only load it. So we say, okay, show me. And this is now our identity, or this is a persona of a library with all the books inside, with all the concepts. Now you can see that each of the cell has a lot of paragraphs, around 100, yeah? Yeah. So we can, instead of creating it, yeah, we can do the same and open it, which is the same. Now we just say open, and then, for instance, we want to, yeah, we can open either this or this. We want to open the same, and then it's directly here. It's the same. And now it's exactly the same story like with the books. Just instead of an identity of a book, we have an identity of the whole library. So we can zoom to a specific cell. Let's see what might be interesting for us. For instance, if we try to search for beauty, as a text search, I think you should find it somewhere. Okay, it should be somewhere here, but I cannot find it at the moment. So let's take something that might be similar. For instance, this one with order, work, nature, CAAD, and architecture.
Isn't it up there, left?
It's here, yeah? Perfect, thank you. So somehow you have to find it, yeah? The text search finds it, but then you cannot see. So we take this one, think, good, move, place, and beauty, yeah? It's here, so we want to see we want to zoom into this cell. So we zoom into it, then we get this, yeah? And now we can look at the paragraphs from around here. So there is one Nussbaum. So we can say, okay, wow, this might be interesting. Let's take this, and then we can go to beauty, and not to concepts, but to characters. We can copy, and then take him. What's his name? And then put it here. And here we have the direct. Yeah. Yeah, so then you have it. Or you can look for some other concepts, yeah, for instance, or you can look what other things are happening here and which other books are speaking. So what's nice here is that you somehow, when you ask the question, it's the whole library that is answering. So it's almost like a kind of this garden talk. So whoever has something to say about a specific topic, they're saying. And then you can read what they're doing. Yeah, so here we have now two Ariostos, we have Conway. Yeah, Ariosto and Conway are in principle talking about things. Or you can again ask the same kind of a question. You can say, okay, I want beauty, 10 answers from the library, give me whatever it is. Yeah, so now it's coming, and now we see who are the characters that are talking. Yeah, so there is Kohlhaas is saying something, Nussbaum, Alberti, Vitruve, Alberti, Ariosto, Joyce, Goethe. Yeah, so it's somehow that's a good sign that they all have something to say about about this.
That's a really good sign. Yeah.
So this means that somehow you have a nice concept that you can work with, yeah, and then that you can go into it. But of course, now the point is that you read all these things and then try to extract, and as you are extracting them and putting to your kind of scenographia and thinking about how it should develop, you should also start developing ideas about what this drama might be about, how to connect this and that, and yeah. So always have the whole thing running, and then if you have a new concept, go back to the concepts, look horizontally, look vertically, etymology here and there, try to make an interesting story about concepts, and then back to asking questions. And now when it grows a little bit, this was going on. So if you have a certain dialogue or something, then you can kind of go back, and then if we like this quote from Nussbaum, we can take it and we can have this quote as a question to the library. Yeah? So now we make this as a question, and we make a kind of an atmospheric question. Yeah? So then we get this as kind of answers towards this, and then again it's the same story. We click here, show us what's here, he gives some answers, and then you read again, and now this is kind of repetitive and goes to infinity. So the question is, how do you organize your identities? What is an identity for you? How you put them together, and so on. What's left is to think of how are two identities talking. Yeah, so this can also be interesting. This is up until now it was always us or me talking to specific identities. But if we want to see how a certain identity reflects the other one, this is also interesting. Let's try first with two books. So we will open Alberti and we will open Corbusier, and we can open them like this. We can open them directly without choosing anything, but in order to do this, these files have to exist. So we need to have this file and this file, they have to exist inside of our folders. So we can check this, and of course now the folder structure is different. So here this one exists, and with Corbusier it exists as well. Yeah. So this means that here we need to change. There is one more Alberti. So here is Nuss, and then it's one more Alberti, like this, and I think now it should work. Show me Alberti. It's here, and then show me Le Corbusier. It's here as well. That's good. And now we can look how they talk. This is called the ID text heat map. This is the new command. With this heat map, we see how Alberti reflects in Le Corbusier and how Le Corbusier reflects in Alberti. So first we say we want the heat map of how Alberti talks about Le Corbusier. And then the next one, we want the inverse, how Le Corbusier is talking about Alberti. So when you get, it's written here, Alberti on Le Corbusier. And then when Alberti is looking at Le Corbusier, these are the cells somehow with which he is responding to what Le Corbusier is saying. This is where they meet, from the perspective of Alberti. From the perspective of Le Corbusier, when they are talking, these are the cells where they meet. So these kind of paragraphs should be interesting. When Corbusier is talking to Alberti, he's talking with these paragraphs. When Alberti is talking to Le Corbusier, he is talking with these paragraphs. So now let's say that this is important for our discussion. You have to check then what is around, and then you select something. Yeah, let's for instance take this one. It has 21. So now we can zoom. But okay. This is Alberti and Le Corbusier. This is the red one, yeah, that's this one, and then the other one should be this one. Yeah. So here we are zooming to the face of Le Corbusier around this, and now it expands, and now we want to, for instance, see some of those: worker, spirit, labor, moment, rhythm. These are Le Corbusier's answer to Alberti. Yeah. Again, now we need to digest this a little bit, think for what this might be okay. And I think then while working with this, you get kind of acquainted with what's going on. And you can ask all these atmospheric questions and all these different things as well. And the last thing is, now we want to see all the actors in library. So let's create a new identity of our library, and then in this library now I don't want to have these two Albertis together. So I want them like this. Maybe now we will have 3. So then I can take it out if I don't like it. Yeah, so I like it like this. Yeah? That each Alberti is an identity for itself. And now we'll make a sum with, we will create an identity with 16 cells from the whole library again. Now this will take a little bit of time. Yeah. Noose, this is ours, great, this one. So now we will, I think this is for me the most interesting part, because you will see in a library how each book behaves in its own way. Yeah? Each book responds to all the concepts from the library in its own way. And then if you set up different libraries, the same book will behave different in different libraries. That's kind of, I think, an interesting moment. Because then books really become alive. So then they don't have one fixed meaning intended by the author or whatever, but it's kind of open to different contexts. But it takes a little bit of time to, okay, almost. Yeah, now there is already a lot of books, so it's getting. It's this one, yeah. Today, what date? Today is not 13.
No,
yeah,
15.
15. This was my preparation. So almost. And then we need to load all the books. Yeah, that's the second part. So now this is all a little bit expensive for the computer. Okay, so he did it now. This is the identity, and he will show us. This is the identity of our whole library. And now what we want to see is how each book reflects on all these concepts. To do this, we need to open all the. So these are all the books. These are the book names. And now we want to import all of them. Yeah. So let's check, for instance, the book number 5, just if it's working. Good. And now we want to see, but there's going to be. Which one did we add? The last one was this Alberti, huh? He doesn't have, so we need to create his identity with 6 cells very fast because we didn't do it. Where is this? So it's here. Create identity of a book. We need to make an identity of Alberti with 6 cells. This one. And then we had Goethe and a few more.
Each book needs to have an identity of the same length in order to be
Yeah. Almost. If you want them, they all look nice, yes. Alberti, and then who? Gropius. Gropius has. This guy. This guy doesn't have, yeah? So we need him. And there was one more that we imported. Okay, they are all there. Now we go back. Good. And now this will take also just a few moments, but this is cool. So now we want to see each book, how it reflects in the library, and it should give now all the 12 different identities. And then we are done.
Perfect timing, yes.
And then, for instance, we should find, if we are into beauty, where is beauty here? Yeah? It's here, yeah? So beauty is around here, so that we know when we look at the identities where we should kind of focus more. Usually you can do this with a smaller amount of books, then it's gonna look. Yeah, so what we get is this, yeah? So this is each book now showing how it reacts to the whole library. So this means if we are with Ariosto, his concepts are here, yeah? And we know now when we've seen that our beauty is around here, so the books somehow that are focused in this area of our galaxy of concepts this should be interesting to us, let's say. So for instance, this guy here is, then we have Conway, he's more here. Le Corbusier is around, but not so much on beauty. But this, I mean, this is super cool, huh? How each book shows its face in this library in its own way. So this would be the concept that Koolhaas is around. And then if you go on top of this concept, you see Manhattan City Islands, and then Manhattan Tower Hotel. And then he's interested in Plato a little bit. I don't know who else. For instance, with Vitruvius, of course, is the height of columns, and he is here. Sayre on geometry, so it's about noise, multiplicity, form, time, science, nature, noise, place, noise, time, multiplicity. Joyce, like, look, time. Yeah, you get them. And then we can ask. So for instance, if we want to look at these concepts from Michel Sayre about noise, about, let's say, noise, multiplicity, and form. So for instance, then beauty, if you think, okay, wow, form could be a very interesting concept when I think about beauty. Yeah? So what does it mean, form and beauty together? So then you go up to the concepts, check form, how is form developing, what is form about, then you can go here and, okay, let's look at the form. Here, yeah, so you get noise, background, form, logo. Let's, for instance, check this. Yeah, so it's Michel Sayre. These are objects I seem to live through more than view. I think I pick up noises from more and more I see them. Yeah? Touch them, convince them. Are here without clear frontiers, without divining, and so on. And okay, wow, this could be cool. And then you can take Sayre as a new character that could be kind of very interesting to talk about form, which should be super different than what Alberti is saying. Yeah? So here is again form with 11. Bam. So who is here? It's Koolhaas as well. Koolhaas, a lot of Koolhaas, Corbusier, Gropius. Now all the architects are kind of kicking in with the form. So beauty and form could be a good combination for these kind of stories. Or you can look, for instance, Gertrude Stein. Yeah? What is she saying here? This is her focus. This is what she thinks the most, how to contribute. And when she's talking about these things that are important for her, we can see also who is participating. Yeah? For instance, now if they are like all with 1, you want something. So if you want more, you just write here 3. And then it gets denser. If you want more things, you write 2. And now you have 18, 20, 19. So let's try this one. And see, okay, when Gertrude Stein is talking about her kind of most precious concepts, around we have Koolhaas, Corbusier, Ariosto, Ibsen, Sayre, Alberti. Ibsen is a lot there, yeah? So Ibsen should be her very close friend. Of course, there are not many quotes from Gertrude Stein because her text is small, yeah? So this is, I think, a few pages text. Yeah.
You can read it out loud in 2 hours.
Yeah. And I think that's it from today. So I would really, what I think is important with this is to think of it as a cycle. Yeah. So that the input and output, that you are kind of all the time circling around. And then if anyone will have problems with installing or some questions around this week you can come from 4 to 6 to the chair. I will be there. Next week I'm gone again. But this week come.